Jensen, how you doing? Good.
Hanging in there.
The new and improved Mike Stiles.
I'm new, I'm not improved.
The improved.
The way they set up.
I started to go, and then all of a sudden,
I got a long way to go.
In terms of
big truck.
Big truck.
I mean,
Everything
they're
gives me
very
away because I tattoo everything with a lion on it.
Oh, yeah.
Chelsea. It reminded, it's got the sidewalk.
Lions look good. Like, not my Cowboys not looking so good, but, you know, it's good.
Whatever it is, it is their neighborhood. Where you know who lives there.
Might just have it's about to get
No, that won't happen. I'm Kelsey.
I really do feel.
There's always places
No.
where they have sometimes four places, triplexes.
It's
I know, I used to be.
So the front side of the yards.
12, 15 years technology and form. Yeah, I mean, and I built the wall, so trust me, I know.
Oh, that's nice.
I helped build.
No, it's yeah, I think the Lions will do a lot better than my Cowboys. I think my Cowboys are in trouble.
That'll give me some good picks for next year.
Yeah.
But then we still have people to work.
Wants to or should be part of a service club. Rotary could be a good one to keep them quiet. So push back and I mentioned that nothing was being done.
Jeff got married.
That's all right.
He got married yesterday. No, yesterday. 24th, was it?
No, yes.
Yeah, he got married yesterday. Yeah. Oh. So we'll call this meeting to order. If you can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Commissioner Wiki, would you lead us in prayer?
Sure. Let's bow our heads. Lord, we just want to give you our gratitude today. Lord, I personally want to thank you for the city staff that works here every day. God, I thank you for the first responders that do such an awesome job for this city and this community. And I just thank you for my fellow commissioners for serving. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude today, and I just wanted to thank you, Lord, for that. And I also just pray that you would be with us in this meeting, that you'd give us wisdom, that you'd guide us. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Roll call, City Clerk.
Commissioner Mullins. Commissioner Boring.
Here.
Commissioner Wiki.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Harrington.
Here.
Commissioner Abs.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Vice Mayor Burr.
Here.
Mayor Perez.
Here. Next on the agenda, we have proclamations and presentations. Tonight, we'll be discussing, having a recycling discussion. Mr. Andrew Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. Following up on, previous discussions through the budget process and at previous City Commission meetings, wanted to bring you some more information on what we've been kind of looking at as recycling alternatives, so you guys can have a more full discussion on what we want to do moving forward. I think we mentioned at last commission meeting that one of the concepts we were looking at was recycling as a utility service. So essentially allowing us to treat it in a way that's similar to how we provide, say, water or wastewater utility type services. We could contract for that service, charge residents on utility bills for that service. I had TJ do some review. I think our biggest concern was a couple of things. One, we know that people do similar type things for trash haulers, that they have ordinances and provide these services in this way for trash haulers. But was this something that we could do for recycling only? So that was kind of the first question. And then just kind of structuring it based on our city charter, our ordinances, was this something that we were able to do? So TJ took a look at it, found through research that indeed it was something that he believes that we can move forward with and do similar to that. He looked at several other communities' ordinances about structurally how we might go about that, bearing in mind that this is a pretty unique application of this type of provision. In the fact that I don't know that I've heard of any other communities that are doing this for recycling. I don't believe, TJ, you found any other communities that did that in your research. So it would be somewhat of a unique application, but we do believe it's something that we could do moving forward if we so chose. It would have to be a city ordinance structured that would require participation of the residential properties. We would try and model off who would actually be included in the recycling provision, probably off our existing recycling contract. So residential properties up to a certain number of units that would qualify, and head from there. And then, again, charging the fees, going monthly on utility bills. TJ, was there anything else kind of on that piece of things that you wanted to call out?
No, it appears that it is permitted. I think Andrew covered it.
The next question that I guess bears talking about was discussion about a referendum vote for such a change. I know in talking with TJ, still has some concerns about a referendum vote from the standpoint of the ability to amend the ordinance in the future if necessary. I think in your research you found maybe we have a couple different methods that we could explore to address that. The one we had talked about earlier today was, the potential to add language regarding amendments or a sunset in the ordinance itself. So essentially allowing the commission to amend the ordinance as part of the language so that it was clear to the voters that you had that right. TJ, you said you found something in Portage's ordinance that was slightly different?
The other thing that you could do is, I'm not a fan of the referendum vote when it comes to something like this where you're creating a mandated service and then ongoing contractual relationships where the city is burdened with negotiating contracts on a semi-yearly basis. Rates could change, providers could drop out, if the there's a lot of contingencies that would have to be in an ordinance that you're asking the voters to look at. If the commission were to pass one option would be to give the commission the ability to opt into a single service where you could set the framework but not be required to then automatically go to a single hauler for recycling. So it gives the commission more of a flexible approach based on the climate circumstances when, to participate or not participate. So you could set the structure up, opt in the commission by the simple vote of the commission as opposed to trying to have a supermajority or override a referendum.
Obviously with the referendum, I think we would target the August ballot, which we talked about a little bit at the last meeting. The next element that we investigated a little bit was the concept of a one-year stopgap in service. We did contact Borden to kind of understand what that would look like. We floated the idea of a simple, what would essentially be a 9-month extension, so just to get us to, or actually it'd be a little bit less than that, to get us to the referendum period and a new contract in the new budget year. They said that it would need to be a 1-year contract. They wouldn't entertain anything less than that. They did come back with costs because we asked them the cost question. What would it look like compared to the bid? They said that it would be at least $7 per unit per month on a 1-year stopgap contract, possibly up to $8 a month. So just for a frame of reference, At $7, that's about 23,000 a month based on the number of units that we have, roughly. If we kind of project that forward, so in fiscal year 25-26 budget, bearing in mind we already have a contract that gets us to December, to cover the other 9 months we'll just leave it at the $7 rate. You're looking at a gap in funding once you would charge the full $25. So right now we do $24, $2 a month. We can charge up to $25 a year. So if you do the full $25, for the rest of the 9 months, basically the gap ends up being $145,130. That's for the 9 months. You would have an additional obligation in the following fiscal year, whether the referendum passed or not, that would carry us from end of September to December, of $69,000 that we would have to cover. That would leave a total unfunded obligation of $214,131. So for this fiscal year, it would be an additional 145, but you would have to anticipate that that's 69,000 in the next fiscal year, whether just as part of the budget or however we chose to look at it. Now, referendum passes, obviously you have a funding source that would cover all or most of that. But if it doesn't pass, that's still an obligation that would carry us through the end of the calendar year.
And what are those numbers at $8? You just said it could be 8.
I didn't run them at 8, but I mean, more, right? So
Okay.
Add about 36,000 roughly a year.
yeah,
36,000 more
A year, yeah.
if there was an 8?
for the full 12 months. Yeah.
So 23,000.
26,000? 30.
So beyond that, we did ask Borden about drop-off costs, because that was the other option. I know not necessarily as popular as continuing the curbside recycling, but just for sake of comparison, we talked to them about what they would estimate we would need. He said he anticipated we need about 5 8-yard dumpsters for recycling. Service twice a week. It would be a monthly cost of about $6,000 or $72,000 for the year. Our current recycling revenue is about $79,000 under the $2 system. So we could leave that system in place, and on an ongoing basis see very little change, perhaps a slight reduction compared to the current system, but obviously not the same level of service that you get with curbside recycling. In addition to that, I think that it'd be prudent in the first several years you would be looking at additional expenses to prepare and equip a suitable site. You'd have to look at staffing costs. So I mean you're looking at a fairly comparable number, but there may be some additional things that we would have to factor in. I know that in discussion of grants, we even had a citizen who sent some information on potential grants to one of our commissioners who passed it on to me. The grants are not necessarily there if we are contracting with the service to help us continue to contract with the service. If we are running a facility, whether that's a drop-off location or our own pickup site, our own pickup program, there may be potential grants funds for that. So if we had a drop-off location, there may be some grant funding available. I wouldn't promise it at this point. The one grant source that I saw that was the most reliable didn't seem to have a round of funding this year. So it was in 24, but it wasn't necessarily in 25. So I don't know what the status of that particular program is. But by and large, any grant programs on recycling that I've heard about are more apt to fund purchases for the actual for the city to buy something physical rather than to maintain a contract. I did mention in my write-up best practice resources. So actually at the MML conference, one of the sessions I went to, They were talking about different resources that have been produced through collaborations on sustainable programs, recycling, things of that nature. And one of them was a best practices on drop-off locations. I did pull that up. I looked at it. It's more targeted towards larger communities that are maintaining a drop-off site that they are then selling resources from. So it's not completely applicable to our case, but there were probably a few lessons if that was a direction we wanted to go into that we could garner some more information from. Other considerations that we discussed with Borden, wanted to clarify what the future would hold for curbside service in Sturgis if we are no longer doing curbside. So we talked about access to it through Borden. The answer we got, I'm not 100% comfortable with the clarity on. He said they would likely be pulling recycling services from the area. The clarification I haven't had is whether that would be for Borden trash customers or just as an independent source. So for example, if I'm not a Borden trash customer, I probably will not be able to get Borden recycling. I don't know if that's the same if I am a Borden trash customer. So that's a clarifying question. I still need to get the answer to. The only other thing that I wanted to bring note of, we've been engaging with the South Central Michigan Material Management Committee. That's a group that kind of looks at things like solid waste, recycling, compost site, those types of things for the region. We've been engaging with that really starting this year. They've been actually coming up to speed and becoming more active in the area themselves. St. Joseph County does have a few programs that they're operating, particularly in the area of electronics recycling. So I think most of us have probably seen that they do like twice a year. They do something at the fairgrounds where they'll do electronics, some household hazardous waste recycling. A new program that I was unaware of is you can actually go up to Waste Management in Three Rivers weekly basis, and they do the electronics recycling up there at no charge for St. Joseph County residents. So that was a new program. We're exploring any other potentials that may be coming through that. Again, trying to get a little bit more information on what's out there and available currently. So that's the information I have. Happy to take any questions or take any discussion.
You had gotten some costs for if an individual wanted to do their own, wasn't it around $12 a month?
Correct. So that's what they're currently offering now.
And that was
that was Borden.
Okay.
And what they're suggesting is that, and I don't think it's completely unreasonable or surprising, is that if they don't have recycling happening here and enough people to actually send a truck up here on a regular basis, they're not going to be able to offer that as an extra service to people. So that was the one unfortunate change that we kind of got through. Well, I mean, there were a couple of unfortunate pieces of information. I wasn't super excited about the increased cost for a gap year, but that one in particular was tough to hear.
As a monthly charge on utility bills, so this would be anybody who gets a utility bill. It just seems there are a number of people who don't utilize the recycle thing.
Correct.
I noticed that again when was out walking last Thursday morning, and looking up and down all the streets, and I'm thinking, not all these people hauled it in before 10 o'clock in the morning, and just glancing. There were a lot that weren't out there, and that's what with these.
I would say, looking at collection rates that we've seen, probably 50%.
Okay, that's what I wondered if they have numbers.
Yeah.
So those 50% of the people then would get an additional charge on their utility bills for a service they weren't utilizing.
Same as they do now.
But
It's just
now
more.
it's like, who even knew? You know, the $2 a
Well,
month.
Yeah,
But
$2
when
is
it's-
less
$2
noticeable.
versus $6. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And given the
the,
fact we're talking about it, the
Yeah.
word will get around that this
Sure.
will now be.
sure.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make light of it. I
Right,
just want,
that was-
that
I-
functionally, it's not going to be, it'll be the price difference that's going to be the major factor that goes there.
So, and then when we talk about, we would charge as utility service to pay someone else to do this, we would not start being a recycle service?
Correct.
Just making sure.
No, I'm not interested in,
Okay.
I'm not
In having
interested
some-
in that particular addition to our
We don't
service
need that with our
portfolio.
public, okay. But yeah, that was my thought, looking, when I was walking, looking up and down, going, I do that also on the Thursdays. They're not supposed to pick it up just to look to see who put it out. It's not our turn on our side of the 12.
Sure.
But yeah, okay.
Not
Because my next door
everybody-
neighbor is one who never, never utilized, ever. Yeah.
Not everybody puts it out every time either.
Well, true,
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
But I would, just given my own neighborhood, they would like it weekly, not just every other week, given what they put out, yeah.
I would be happy with bi-weekly instead of twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
That was their proposal, and actually, in their proposal, if we were to move forward, that was actually what they were doing, was bi-weekly and not just twice a month. So it would have gone off the current schedule.
The only downside about that is it's tough to remember then 8 months down the road, what was our week? Oh, wait, we can't go second and fourth anymore. Can't go first and third.
Correct.
What is it?
You'll just get a new calendar in your utility bill like they give you once a year, which you should
Yep.
then put on your refrigerator so you can see.
Yeah. I still think there's a lot of unknowns with the 214, 131 for the next year, and then what's it gonna be for a 3-year contract if the commission decides to make a city ordinance for recycling and one single hauler for garbage, wink, wink.
No, that's just for recycling.
I don't know, my thought would be is, where are we gonna get this money from? I mean, could we outsource something that we could somehow help pay for this if the commission decides to keep recycling, or what can we eliminate permanently? I don't know if we want to be in that position to be figuring out how we're going to come up with this kind of money. It's only going to get more expensive down the road.
But
Well-
the ratepayers on the utility bills would be paying for it in the future. We're just talking about a budgeted one-time expense of 9 months. If it passes, if it were on the ballot. We're not talking about funding something permanently because
That'd be
the
great.
ratepayers, as we would call them in the future,
Yeah,
as
the
opposed
idea
to the
is that
customers.
they would be billed for the cost.
they'd
of
be billed for the
service
cost of service. I guess, to your point, Mayor, if let's say the contract gets crazy, the way TJ was pitching it, if we do an option, an opt-in based on commission majority vote, that would allow an emergency switch, so to speak, of if this body, 4 years down the road, decided, whoa, they're presenting us now with a contract that we
15
we
months.
say is nuts, we'd have the opt-out based on majority vote to say, we're not going to do this utility service anymore.
And you could negotiate.
At any
that
time.
into contract with, I mean, you'd want to negotiate a break clause with the provider as to what it would look like if the city were to have to get out. But generally, getting out would be a direct result of an increase, which could trigger then, obviously, the termination of the contract if it's outside the anticipated rate increases that they provide.
So to reiterate what I was saying earlier, it'd be a one-time hurt for us, and I'm not saying 145,000, whatever, hundred would be a small thing. That's a big hurt, but at least it's one-time in nature. It's building the bridge to
Well-
get there if such an ordinance goes into place, and then the ratepayers are paying it in the
Well,
future.
I
bill.
heard
And
214.
technically it's more
214.
because we have to lock into a
We
full
have to
year.
lock it for a
Yeah.
full year.
Yeah, it's
But if it passed, we would start collecting.
if it passed.
Upon-
But if it didn't, you would
Right,
have
yeah, would be-
69,000 that you'd have in one,
We're taking-
so two times
Taking a bet
expense.
there, yeah.
There's no we in that. I'm not taking a bet in that.
If it's approved.
Well, yeah.
So the 1-year gap contract, is that the commission voting on that to give us time for the city to vote on going forward?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you can pretty well figure that by the time next year rolls around, that $5 a piece one's gonna be up to $7 a piece.
If not 8.
if not
Yeah, I
eight.
mean,
And even
to be
even
fair-
with a 3-year contract, a year down the road.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, with the proposal that they had provided us, there was an escalator for each successive year. So it
Yeah,
started
it
at 6, but
Yeah, it
the
was-
second year was more, and the third year was more than that,
Right.
so.
If we were to choose to not do this and look at the collection site idea, is that something we'd be able to start as soon as this ends? I mean, is that feasible?
I think it's possible. I think that we would have some work to do to look at the site and make sure that the site was ready to accept it, December or January 1.
I mean, I don't like that necessarily, but
Right.
this is a pretty big
And
deal.
staffing for it also, because to
Right.
make sure that it's only city residents that are
Right.
utilizing it.
Right.
So using that as the gap until the city can vote on it?
Yeah, if we then go ahead and move forward with the voting idea. I don't,
I don't think too many people are gonna take a dumpster full down to the recycling site or go there weekly. They'll probably either end up in their trash or along the roadside
well,
somewhere.
if they don't want to pay more for their trash pickup, I mean, because it's going to accumulate a lot more trash.
Well, there again, if it's only $7 a month more, I don't think people are gonna complain about that.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, because we can't charge them anything for the stopgap here, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
December, we're done.
Yeah.
We don't collect anything. Right, Andrew?
I mean, even if it was a one year,
But why put all that
Well,
money
what
into
do you
a
gotta
site?
say?
So-
and-
I guess there's a lot of things that I'm kind of confused. I mean, everybody's talking about the vote of the people passing. I mean, the commission could arguably pass an ordinance in the next several months that would eliminate
oh, not,
potentially the need
To take a
for
bet on
any of
August.
that, to where then the city could start assessing the costs directly to the taxpayer, or the
Rate,
ratepayer,
Ratepayers.
according to Commissioner Miller, which would be, to the citizens, as opposed to waiting till August. So that
Okay.
would somewhat eliminate the need for the stopgap spending by the city, if that makes sense. So if the commission said, let's create an ordinance that allows us to do that, the city creates it, you have your public hearing, first, second reading, we wait the time, it becomes implemented. We could do that roughly and have a very, very small window of time in which there would be a lack of, lapse in service between the two.
okay, I
If you
didn't
want to
know.
wait for a referendum vote, you're talking almost a year out
Right,
for that. So again, also too, with the referendum vote, you're a little bit more hemmed in on flexibility, what the city can do if things go sideways. If the commission passes the ordinance, at that point, the city can undo the ordinance with the vote of the commission, after giving public proper notice of the meeting. So there is that option as opposed to waiting a year for an election.
okay.
That is
I didn't
true.
realize
Yeah.
that was what, okay.
And we save money on I mean, it may not be a lot, but it does cost money to print these ballots, especially when you're talking about the length and the amount of material that would probably go into this type of, I mean, how much was it for the chicken?
Well, nothing.
Oh, 'cause I mean,
you're on,
As
you're on
long as
August
you-
ballot.
As long as you're on a,
On the August, yeah.
Get it-
I
get it.
spent the materials and all of the other publications that went along with it. We had some expense.
Yeah,
Not terrible.
it really, as long as you're tagging along, I think you do a long enough ballot initiative that you might get charged, but in all likelihood, we wouldn't get charged, assuming we did August or November.
Eric?
Barry Cox, 1421 South Marabou.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, for the acknowledgement. I have so many questions. And actually, it's pretty well broad spectrum across everybody that's out here tonight, Mayor. One question that I don't know the answer to is, did the city receive the bids prior to the final budget approval? or the bid, I should say.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. To Commissioner Harrington's point regarding usage versus in her neighborhood, Ward 3 area possibly, versus other areas of town, that is something actually I see on site because we have, when we do construction projects, we have to try to coordinate trash and recycling pickups. So it's interesting to see who's got their containers out and where. And there certainly seems to be some differences between different sides of towns. So I would say that recycling rate generally south of town is probably a little better than it is north of town based on, again, construction projects we've seen. The item that Andrew brought up regarding that they probably, Borden probably won't provide recycling services beyond the city limits. So it's not just the city that's going to get impacted by whether or not there's recycling or not, it's going to be the whole community. So that means everybody outside that might have had that service is not going to have that opportunity for that either. Mr. Mayor, you talked about priorities, or how do you, what do you get rid of, or how do you cut expenses? I guess it's a question of priorities, isn't it? So could you look at some of the other things that we're doing right now? For example, I know we only do styrofoam recycling 3 times a year. I don't know how much time, money, and effort we spend on doing that. Is that more important than this or less important in each of everybody's eyes? I don't know the answer to that.
There is no significant cost to do it.
There is no
this time.
significant cost there. Okay, so that one can be pushed
That one
aside.
can be pushed aside as well.
It's a simple question, it's a simple answer.
It just worries, but it just worries me when this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta look at
Yes,
somewhere.
obviously, you know,
continue
going to the
that.
one-year contract for a particular year would impact that. So different service, similar, compost site. So currently, we collect, what, 3 times a year? April, May, October, or just April, October?
Twice. I think just twice.
And then do leaf collection. The site is open 4 days a week currently, of various hours during that time period. Obviously, somebody has a much better idea how much that particular service costs the city. Is there a way to balance some of that priority with recycling at curbside? I don't know. Just a thought. Like I said, we're throwing out recycling options. That's the discussion here. So that's what I'm asking in that regard. Maybe we only pick up once a year. You know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. One of the things that we're talking about having like our own RDF, resources disposal facility. So my folks used to live in Lafayette, Indiana. The city down there, much bigger than us, about 7 times, 10 times bigger. They had their own recycle or RDF facility. They ran their own program, so they had their own staffing. They came and picked it up. When they initially started it, they recycled everything. I mean, stuff that I wouldn't even dream that they would even think about recycling. About 2 years ago, that changed a lot. And they really limited the amount of material you could recycle through the program. Mentioned it a little bit to Andrew about, you know, is there a loss leader as part of their collection that maybe we could remove from the stream that would make it easier for them? Recognizing that initially residents are going to have a hard time with maybe not remembering not to put that stuff in versus what they've always been doing. But maybe that's an approach that they might find, Waste Management might find acceptable. So that's about all I have, other than on the vote idea of waiting a year. So the city clerk has an idea of how much it's going to cost to do an election. And the discussion, from what I've heard out here in the audience, has been, well, we're going to wait a year because we don't want to do it in May and have to pay all that money. But if you're looking at spending $215,000 for a year versus doing a vote in May, it seemed like you could maybe, that $10,000 might be valuable, if that's the direction that the commission wants to head. So.
That's what I was thinking too, Barry. Glad you brought that up. Hey, but while you're up there, so I have an idea. Because we mentioned single hauler for recycling.
Okay.
So my idea but I've been talking to some commissioners and some folks in the community, given how bad our roads are, like Ivanhoe, I drove down that this morning. And to me, it goes against my principle by having government tell you what you should and should not do.
Mhm.
But I have an idea and a thought that if we're gonna maybe create, this body, the commission, creates an ordinance for a single hauler recycler,
Mhm.
it would almost make sense to have an ordinance for a single hauler for garbage.
Okay.
And here's why. As you, as well as, well, I would consider your professional opinion, the wear and tear of our roads, they're not getting any better. We have 5 trucks with a lot of weight on them, driving around the city
Mhm.
every week. And we don't have money for this, for recycling, the 214, 131. And you know, we're not getting enough money to keep up with the maintenance of the roads. In your opinion, would it be a decent idea, just a thought, to have one provider to do both and only have one truck?
I'm gonna jump in and not
And have
let-
one truck.
I'm not gonna let city staff answer that opinion.
Okay,
I don't
I'm
want to
saying-
I don't think city staff should be put in that position to make
Okay,
that. You're asking him as his opinion as an engineer. This is not an opinion as a private citizen.
I thought it was. I thought he introduced himself as Barry Cox.
That is fine, that is fine, but I'm advising against answering the question as a city employee.
well, I'll finish, Barry, because I kind of feel, you don't have to answer since, and I respect TJ's opinion. If we don't have the money for recycling, and we know we don't have money to fix all the roads, you'll be talking about that here in a little bit as the city engineer. I would almost think it'd make more sense to have one do both than have one day where the city has, instead of having cans everywhere, 4 days a week, and 5 trucks here, 5 days a week, or 4 days a week. Almost makes sense just to have one.
By the way, I would say that I did talk to Andrew about that issue in my discussion, that if that is the desire or interest of the commission, now would be the time to address those concerns, even if it's simply creating a franchise type agreement or register. Some communities require all haulers to at least provide their rates and register with the community of when they're gonna be there, when the routes are, as much as giving the city the ability to post it on the website to say, hey, here are your possible selections. If you're moving into the city of your haulers, here are the days and here are the rates. We can create an ordinance, even if you don't make it a single hauler, that at least streamlines and gets us a little bit more of that information. And I would encourage the commission to consider that at the very least, if you're talking about changing anything with the solid waste or recycling, is looking at that component as well. You don't have to require a single hauler, but at least you can require them to register with the city so we know for sure who's here. Right now, there's nothing prohibiting, Frank Perez, garbage pickup from throwing a hopper on the back of his truck and driving around picking up garbage bags, and the city wouldn't know any different.
Gotcha.
So that was, we did talk about that.
Just a thought, it's my own personal opinion. I thought I talked to some of the folks at municipality that does that, and they go out to bid. They let all the garbage haulers in the area bid on it every 3 years or so, and it's working great for them. Would love to see something like that here, especially given our tight finances and our roads. And we're not getting any more funding for the roads, but
So would you propose we do it like we're proposing to do the recycling?
yeah.
And they bill us, and then we bill the residents?
Well, I would have to,
Or would you?
That's how it's most commonly
yeah,
done.
almost kind of.
That's how it's most commonly done.
So if I decided to say, to heck with it, I'll just take my one bag of garbage into work a week, I'm still paying for your garbage pickup?
Just like you would recycle.
Or if
Just like
I
you pay
get
recycle.
with my neighbors and I want to just, between the two of us, we use one can, put them both together, I'm still paying for your garbage pickup?
Because the thought would be
I
the garbage bill
think
would be
not.
lower. The garbage bill would be lower.
Because I'm paying for yours. Yeah. No.
So there is 2 ways of doing that. There are ordinances out there that provide for a single hauler, but requires that hauler as a part of the contract to bill the resident directly on a quarterly basis in conformity with the rates negotiated by the city. So that essentially forces that if you don't want to participate and you're not going to get garbage pickup, I guess you're not paying for it, there's no lien on your property. The way we do it, or the way it was suggested, or could happen, and some municipalities do, if you buck the system and say, well, I'm not paying for it because I'm not doing it, that becomes a lien on your property. Similar to, you know, other utility liens. So, but if they directly deal with you, it would be up to the trash hauler to decide whether or not they had a relationship with you, an agreement to pick up, and it'd be on them to collect it.
The only, I would ask that we consider each issue differently, separately, just because I can't speak for Commissioner Mullins, who's gone, but his previous comments at the previous commission meeting was that he was opposed to the idea. I would support going for a January ordinance just based on a majority vote of us. But I would differ my vote for a single hauler. And Commissioner Mullins sounded like he would definitely be opposed to the single hauler, unknown on supporting this ordinance because he's not here. But I would just want each to be considered separately. I wouldn't want to take a vote on one ordinance. That would be one vote. I'd want to differentiate them.
Well, but I think the attorney said we better do both now.
Well,
Doesn't mean that we will have one single hauler for garbage.
I'm not
Does it?
suggesting that you vote them together. I'm suggesting that if you're
Right.
going to look at it, at least talk about.
Think about that idea.
The registry of people coming into the city, who's here, which is kind of that first step towards that, if you want to know, you know, to be able to understand, compare rates, have citizens compare rates.
What I mean is I don't want there to be an ordinance vote that is for both services in the same ordinance.
Sure.
Well, and not just me and not just speculating on Commissioner Mullins, but I think the community support for either is going to be very different. So voting on them together, tied together, I wouldn't want to do. I wouldn't support that.
Well-
I'm not opposed to what TJ's saying. That's interesting to look into. I didn't know other communities did something like that calendar, but I like leaving trash alone and attacking the recycling issue, which is what the discussion was about in the first place. Which is the issue that's pending.
I don't have an issue with doing the registry. That might actually
Yeah.
lessen the amount of companies
Right.
by letting everybody know, hey, these are the costs, and people might just naturally flow to the cheaper ones.
Yeah, I'm not
Less
opposed to
trucks.
looking into
Less
that
trucks, less wear and
as
tear.
an idea. Again, I like the ordinance idea of taking a vote as a majority of the commission to start in January. We wouldn't, to TJ's point, we were kind of forgetting about that idea because we were hung up on the August approval, but we could take a vote to start collecting for payment conceivably January 1, the day our current contract goes out. We could start collecting in the new way. Clerk Rhodes, what property tax bill is the $24 on now?
It's for 2025, so that will end.
No, but what summer or winter bill?
It's on your summer bill.
Summer bill, gotcha. I was just curious how it got
Yeah,
collected currently.
most of it has
I
been
can't
collected
remember.
at this point.
So it's just within the property tax bill.
Correct.
Okay.
If you look at your property, the residential
see, I
property
never
tax.
did.
$24.
Yeah, you see at the bottom, recycling tax, $24.
Okay, I never looked at it that closely.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm,
just so I
It's
understand.
not the big amount.
Right, yeah.
Just so I understand, Commissioner Miller, are you suggesting that there not be a vote in August then? Like that we would just take care of
I
it
was
in
gonna
January
ask that.
altogether?
that was the idea that TJ's bringing up to avoid,
That is an option.
Right,
Yeah.
then we wouldn't
Okay,
need to.
yeah.
The commission
I
had
would not be for
previously
that.
expressed strong desire to take it to a vote of the people,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
I had framed most of the discussion along those lines.
And the referendum vote carries a lot more strings and a lot more difficulty
Yeah,
in the future. So you're asking the commission, again, I'm not a big fan of referendum votes when it comes to something complex like this because it does cause potential issues down the road for the commission.
Yeah, my thing is, I've seen many conversations on the community page about the raised rates already, utility rates, and for us to mandate for all the citizens another raise that is an optional thing, I would rather the citizens choose that option than just 9 people for the whole city choose that for them.
Could we do, if the commission were to do an ordinance for January, could there be a non-binding referendum that is done in August?
I would have to look at that. I don't know. I did not look at a hybrid model. of
Yeah, and
passing.
the only reason I say, if it's a non-binding and you got feedback that the majority of the citizens don't want this, then they could choose to.
The problem is you're locked into a contract.
Well, you're locked into a contract for a certain length of time, for sure.
Correct.
And I think that would be the issue, that if the referendum goes down, it's effective 20 days after the.
Well, again, non-binding, so this is, I'm just asking your opinion on an official ballot.
sticking
that's
So
all.
are you asking for
Question on the
an
ballot.
opinion poll essentially of the citizens?
For all intents and purposes, yes, go to the polls and give me your opinion,
I've
and it
never
doesn't really mean
heard
anything.
Of a advisory election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I would have to look, without,
I've heard the term non-binding referendum, that's why I'm asking you, because I don't really know what that implies.
Can we do both?
What do you mean?
Can
Pass it as an ordinance with the sunset and have a vote of the people? We'd still be locked into the 3 years at, what, $6 a piece, but
No, it was going up, wasn't it?
The first year would be
Correct.
6.
First year.
Relatively
and
6,
then
yeah.
have the election at then. with-
In other words, the August ballot initiative says this is a referendum on the ordinance that was enacted January whatever.
One.
Yeah.
And
It's set
do
to
you-
expire.
that's set to expire December 31, 2026. Do you support it, yea or nay?
It wouldn't be able to, I mean, you could do December of 2026 at the higher price, but if you wanted to do it at the $6, you're
You'd have
gonna
to
have
lock
to
in
be
3
locked
years.
in for 3 years. And then, I think what I heard you say, Commissioner Smith, was
Roll the
you wanted
dice.
that basically to be, I mean, at that point, you could wait and do the referendum timed such that it would be in sync with
Yeah.
the end of the 3 years.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even have to do it immediately.
Yeah.
so
Referendum next year could strike it down.
essentially, the ordinance would self-destruct if not approved by a majority of the voters within X number of months prior to the expiration of a date in the ordinance.
Right.
So using the 3-year mark just as the number, if it were passed effective January, it would automatically sunset January of, 2029.
I would put the referendum starting in January 1st, 2026, instead of the end of the 3 years.
Have to have an election.
27.
Have to have an election.
Have to have an election.
So I
Yeah.
guess you'd have to
You want
do
an
it,
election now?
you'd do it probably at the end of 2026. If you wanted to do it within the year of 2026, you'd do it either August or November of 2026.
Yeah, and I'm just saying you would have it somewhere between then to whether it'll expire unless between the passage and the expiration by a referendum vote to extend is passed by the majority vote of the people. So you're not locked into a date in your ordinance for the referendum vote. It just has to occur prior to the expiration that you set in the ordinance for which would be the contract term.
Yeah.
And then that'd be up to the commission on how they wish to proceed and when they want to do it. I'll have to look into seeing that. That's an interesting approach.
Well, we definitely talked a lot tonight. Andrew, what do you need from us?
I need some direction on what the
Okay.
commission wants to do going forward. What path do you want us to start working on, if any?
Utilities, having the pickup and a monthly charge on the utility bill is what it sounds like. Yes? No?
I mean, I would support the go into effect January ordinance. I'm saying I would support that route. It would get rid of the need for the stopgap measure. I'm in support of that.
I would say sunset it as we originally discussed and had already approved the budget.
I'm not for charging people or for paying that much more without a vote or a referendum. The people.
Well, basically, the people are paying that much anyway when the city subsidizes it with taxpayer dollars, so they are paying for it in the long run.
Yeah, but there's a difference between me paying for it and the government telling me I have to, and I'm not willing to go that route.
Good point.
Dan, Justin?
I mean, I know the city takes a hit, but I would be for the 1-year gap contract and vote in August or May if possible. That way it really does give the citizens a choice in this.
I'd be more inclined to do the code and then do the vote later.
To do the ordinance
Or,
and then
yeah, the ordinance.
ordinance
and-
now and then do a vote
Yeah.
later. Okay.
Well, I would say this as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Much like the chicken, we had the ordinance pretty much written before the ballot referendum because that's what we were asking the people to look at to say, hey, is this something you would vote on? So is it safe to say the commission would like a draft of an ordinance, whether it's going to be by referendum or by vote of the commission, either way? Because other than the sunset provision and calling for the referendum, most of the ordinance is going to be the same, regardless of the way the city commission wishes to approach it, whether they're going to wait to put it on the ballot in August or whether they're going to pass it and then ask for a referendum to extend it. So the body of the ordinance will look the same.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're looking at a referendum, I'm hearing referendum as part of many people's opinions. I would want to understand, are we going down an avenue of a stopgap? Are we looking seriously at passing something before January as far as an ordinance straight up? That would be helpful information as well.
So, I guess to clarify, I would support the January ordinance. However, I would clarify that I'd fully support that if we enacted it ourselves, but then by resolution called for a referendum on our own resolution that we enacted, I'm fine with that, putting it on the ballot in August or November. That complies with the contract deadlines as we set out on. I don't mind putting it up for a vote. Michigan has done that. Legislature can enact a law and call for a referendum on its own law that it has passed. It can be done. And we're essentially, would be making a decision and asking for the commission passes things all the time. We as 9 members make decisions all the time. However, the question is this a really big deal? Are we not sure where the strong opinions lie? That's a valid question too, on saying, well, this is so big that I don't want to make it as a commission of 9. And I'm fine with basically putting it on the ballot for consideration if it means enacting it first and then saying after the fact, after enactment, and after it's already in place, voters, come August, whatever the date is, what do you think? And shall this ordinance be defeated come its contract expiration date? Essentially, is what it would ask. I'm fine with the referendum idea as part of that, folded into it.
Okay.
So the ordinance, let me make sure, the ordinance
Yeah, like what I
put in
said.
place January 1st. Correct.
Before
Let's just
that,
say
if we
I'm
could.
just throwing that out.
Yeah, rough, the
Okay.
idea would be to put it in place.
And then we would
Put it in
collect
place
under
sooner
the
now
two.
than.
Yeah, so we don't need the stopgap, 145,000.
And then we wouldn't.
We don't have it.
We don't
And then put it
struggle to
we
find the
put it
money
to the vote
anywhere.
then.
But like you said though,
Settle.
then we would be locked into a 3-year contract though.
One.
So what happens?
You could do a 1-year stopgap with boarding at a higher rate.
Maybe higher rate.
Yeah.
and charge the people the higher rate, or you could enter into the 3-year.
So if the vote comes in and they,
I'm saying the referendum would
if,
kill it once the contract period.
if the,
You know what I mean? No, but Andrew said you gotta keep it till the end of the year of 26. There's no killing it. It's a 1-year contract.
That's what the stopgap, we did 3-year.
What's the question?
So, if we do this, what Aaron just said, we would still be on the hook for 214, 131.
no.
Because it'll go
No.
through the end
No.
of next year?
If we
Or
did what
stop.
Aaron suggested, and we put an ordinance into place before January 1, we would have to enter into a contract with Borden for service provision. That could be a 3-year contract, or a 1-year contract. We, the city organization, if it's an ordinance and we are charging the citizens the cost of that contract, we would not have additional expense while that ran. However, it would have to run through the life of that contract.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
And
And at
Correct
that
me
point,
if
we
I'm
would
wrong.
renegotiate the contract.
you can have a referendum any date of any election
Correct.
that puts an
So-
expiration date that may be 2 years down the road. It doesn't, the election referendum does not have to kill it at the end of the year. I'm proposing that even if a 3-year contract were on the ballot in August of this next year, that the striking down, so to speak, would come at the end of 3 years, at the end of the contract period. So there'd be no cost borne by the city.
It would be at the end
That
of
would-
whatever the commission directs. So if
Yeah.
if the commission came to Andrew and said, we're good with an ordinance for 1 year, for 2026 year, it needs that. So Andrew then would have to negotiate a 1-year contract with Borden at whatever, obviously that rate would be what that rate is. It may be higher than the 6. That way, if they come back at the end in August and say no, there's only 6 months in which citizens are required to pay something that they've struck down on a vote. If you sign a
That's what I'm saying.
3-year, you're signing them up for 3 years.
Correct.
of
Right.
liability.
Okay, so you're saying that come January 1st, whatever the fee that you negotiate, the citizens are gonna start paying right now.
For 12 months if we decide
Correct.
12 months, and for 3 years if we decide 3 years.
Correct.
Right.
And I would assume in the next 12 months, we could put out another bid for beyond 2026. Right?
Yeah, if it's
so-
approved, yeah.
So if the referendum were to pass, we probably, before that date in August, we could have a bid. I assume they could do that, and then we would have a 3-year, 5-year, 50-year,
Right.
we could have a contract.
Correct.
Potentially.
Okay, question about one thing here. We're looking at the August election,
Right.
because that's when they're gonna have the regular election. We have nothing coming up in May. And if we had an election, we would have to pay full boat for it, right?
Correct.
But if the schools decided they wanted to run something for the May
Probably would
election,
split it, I would imagine. I would assume. I can't tell you for sure. We haven't.
piggyback on them.
It'd be nice, but my gut feeling is we'd end up splitting it.
What is the cost of that?
I would say if we just ran election here, it'd be about 10 grand. We're sending out a lot of ballots.
But
today.
keep in mind, the minimum amount of time you would be committing people to is a year. Because they're not gonna do a 3-month contract to get us to May. It would be a year.
Right.
So whether we do it in May or we do it in August, you're still talking about it.
But the ratepayer is still gonna have to pay come January.
Correct,
Whatever
correct.
that.
1 year.
correct. And so that's, I mean,
I didn't
that
get
is
enough calls
the
for-
implication
It's
that you
$7.
I
want.
didn't get enough calls supporting
Yeah.
recycling, so. oh.
The other issue would be you'd have to give direction for the drafting of what is too much, because you're gonna have to put some type of stopping mechanism in the ordinance for the referendum vote, or else you're gonna be a captive audience to whoever's bidding if you don't have the ability for the city to say that's where I think the referendum becomes very problematic in these situations. I understand the desire to put it to the people, but what you're really doing is publicly negotiating a contract, because now you're turning it into an ordinance that is mandated
by extending it, the citizens are saying, you have to provide us this service, and you have to negotiate and contract for it. That's where it becomes, you know,
Unless, unless the referendum language specifically says may instead of shall.
right, again,
If I heard you enough times, this really makes you uncomfortable.
it does,
Okay.
100%.
To do an ordinance?
No,
No.
don't.
Number
To
one,
do
I'll
a
say
ref-
all of it makes me uncomfortable because there is not another area in the state that I could find that says, you know, I think according to the statute that I found under the different Solid Waste Recycling Act, you can parse out the various, you know, definitions of what solid waste disposal is, which includes recycling, recyclable materials. You can single those out and create an ordinance to do that, so I'm confident that we can do that. The question becomes on the referendum vote, long-term, how does the city get itself out of that if it becomes cost prohibitive? And these rates do what they have done, gone from $2 to $8, and they go from $8 to $16.
But you said we could put a number on it, not ask.
Potentially put a number, but you're gonna have to know what that is. But if you put a number on it, guess where your bids are gonna come in at? At that number. So, I mean, so you're gonna rebid it, and they're gonna go, well, they have to approve it at this dollar amount.
I would almost think so. If you guys really want to continue recycling, we go with the third option that Andrew proposed, and that's having our own recycling, which still pays, it's cheaper than what we're currently paying if we were to have recycling at the
The
compost
drop-off
site.
center.
The drop-off center. I think to avoid all the mess and making TJ uncomfortable and me wanting a single hauler for garbage, I think it's just.
I'm fine being uncomfortable. It's part of my job, so
I know,
we
but I'm
can
just
make
saying,
it work. I'm just,
I think if we have an option that is less than what we're currently spending without, like.
It's not
Commissioner
much
Weekly
And I don't
said,
wanna, I don't
include-
wanna
It's
say
not much
that-
less.
Yeah, it's not much
I mean,
less,
but
and
it's still, it's
gonna be right around there, if not a little
It's
more.
what
to
we're
start.
currently kind of paying, so, but to incur an additional cost, and with people already complaining, like Commissioner Wiki said, about all these fees going up, I would say that'd be the option we
The-
really need to.
The only
really
thing I
need
would
to
be
stick
concerned
forward
about
to.
that is would the recycling company still stick around if that's our option?
Yeah, that's.
Well,
that's
they
where
We
we
did
gotta
ask
go
them
from. Yeah, we
specifically
gotta go
about doing the drop-off location and the cost
And
involved.
they say they would,
Yeah,
'cause
I
they-
mean,
Yeah.
they would provide that service to us.
Yeah.
I've got a thought. If an election costs 10 grand, with what we're paying for stopgap measures for this, have our special election in May with a 6-month interruption in service. That'll give the people time to decide whether they really want it or not,
That is also an option.
and then have the election in May. I mean, at 10 grand, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than what the stopgap measure is for the 6 months.
Is that a motion?
I thought we had missed our May opportunity. No? Oh.
what is the deadline for the May, Ken?
It's usually
That makes-
15
that
weeks
makes more sense.
beforehand. So it would be March,
opinion.
end of February, March, something like that.
Mr. Mayor, can I pose a question? to
Oh,
you?
yeah, sorry,
You
Barry.
probably don't have the answer, but Andrew probably does. In the 3-year contract that, or the 3-year bid that Waste Management put in there, is there an out clause where we can say within 30 days we can cancel this contract? Or 60 days or 90 days?
That is a good question. You got
That's
it
a
there,
good
Ken?
question, Barry. Been some great conversation, folks. Great.
Knowledge is a good thing to have, but if you can't use it, it's no good.
The whole point being, why would you do one-year stopgap if you can anywhere in a 3-year contract?
Sure.
Sure.
If you could put in,
Yeah,
if there's an out.
If there's an option.
I haven't reviewed the bids in hot minute, so Ken's looking it up. But my guess is that there would be some financial penalty for us to do that, and we'd have
Right,
to.
they don't just stop.
They're not
billing
just
within
gonna.
90 days.
They're not
I think
just
you
gonna
said
say.
that a while back.
Yeah.
If I remember right. I think.
That seems to be my
brought that
recollection,
up.
but
Yeah, I
without
think
looking
you
at the
brought that
document,
up
I can't
once.
say for sure.
Management loves their forms.
Yeah, this is Borden, so it's yeah, it's.
Very similar.
I'm sure they also love their forms.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that aspect, but I would want TJ to look at it and make sure to.
Yeah, I've not reviewed, I don't think I've seen that bid.
Yeah.
I think Andrew mentioned the other option would be, as opposed to putting a number, it would allow that the city commission would have the option to select mandatory single hauler recycling if the commission determines the price and value to the city meets the best interest of the city. So something along that, to where if the rates do get crazy, the commission would be able to end it at that point. But it also gives you the option to not be required to mandate it in the future. It could just be voluntary, but at least you would get the vote of the people on a vote, so you would know where they stood, and give you that option to continue whether or not to select single hauler recycling or not. It's the same ordinance, it's just, essentially, it's closer to Ken's, what he called non-binding referendum. But it would still be binding in that it would create an ordinance that move forward in the future that would lay out exactly what recycling is, how it's collected, how it's levied or put on the tax bills, and it would still lay that all out. It would just be optional for the city to engage at the end of the whatever term it is, if it was not deemed to be economically feasible and in the best interest of the citizens in the community.
Question, TJ, if we do a referendum of approval, or in other words, continuance, versus striking down an ordinance that we already enacted, I don't see the number issue coming into play there. If the voters duly approve, whether we choose May or August, it would continue if they vote yes. If they vote no, the ordinance gets struck down. I don't see the number argument.
Still have to
Coming in there?
have the ability to end the requirement to have it. Because if you have a single hauler where we're requiring everybody doing, the city is doing it, we have to craft language to incur that is not mandated for the city commission to continue that. The most of the time when you have a referendum vote, and it passes, the expectation is that will take effect and continue unless certain triggers take place in the future, whether it's voted down or there's supermajority or however that particular referendum is worded. What you're asking here is, that's where the number comes into play. Because if the citizens say, we want it, give us mandatory recycling single hauler, the city commission has to have the ability to back out of a contract or not be into a contract if its fees doesn't make any sense, if it's too expensive.
Okay.
That's where the concern comes in.
You can't put in a line similar to like where we say the city manager can sign all documents. You can't put in a line and say, hey,
That's why you're making them vote. I mean, that's the reason for the referendum, is you don't want to delegate that authority. You're telling them to tell you. So what the danger of when you're telling the citizens to tell the commission and the city what they want, you have to follow what they say. It's not, well, we were just kidding on that. We still want to, that's where the crafting comes in and becomes dangerous.
But the city would be able to back out, but the threshold would be 6 out of 9, a 2/3 vote, as opposed to a 5 out of 9.
We'd have to see, we'd have to create that.
Get to create it.
We'd have to, that is still something that's to be looked into
Okay.
on the referendum. That's not a
Okay.
guarantee.
I mean, I'm, if we do a 1-year contract, I realize that the potential cost per year goes up for doing just like bulk pricing with anything in the world. But that provides a much smaller window of time and therefore less pain if this ends up being scrapped by us and or the community through public opinion, even without a referendum. If we sign up for a 1-year ordinance I'm proposing that the consequences are low. We end it, if there are riots outside, we wrap it up after a year. The pain is lower. I'd like a 3-year contract for maybe what the price would bring, but I'm in favor of cutting it shorter, just so that we're not committing to as much. We're committing to less.
In what Commissioner Miller is talking about, you know, everybody's been paying $24 every single year. Let's say it's at $7. Then for a typical homeowner, we're talking $50 to $60 for 2026 additional. I mean, if this contract was still going, we'd still do the $24. This is something where it would be $50 to $60 for a particular homeowner for 2026 if we did a 1 year.
It would be 60. It
60.
doesn't vary.
What's that?
It wouldn't vary per customer. I mean, it's a.
No, it would be
Yeah.
standard per
Yeah,
customer,
$60.
yeah. But it's about $60.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
60.
But I'm saying that the
Additional from what they were already
Right,
paying.
that's what I'm saying.
the
60.
length of the
That
pain
property
is,
owners would pay, not the city. We would
Yeah,
pay
so if it's at
$7,
$7, it's simple math. $7,
simple math, yeah.
it's at $5 additional per month, $60 a month.
but the
$60
pain
bucks
would,
a year,
the
I'm
pain
sorry.
would only last for 12 months if we did a 12-month contract. And I'm proposing we're not committing to going out on much of a plank.
Okay, so we do that, and then we take it to a vote, and then that'll tell us.
I'm sorry?
So we do what Aaron said, we go ahead and do the 1 year,
Yeah.
and we take it to a vote in August, and then we'll know then, $70 a household.
Well, I'm even proposing, again, with the jungle of problems we kind of present ourselves with the referendum idea. I guess I'm going based on TJ's comments. We just approve it. We'll get feedback fast. Based on what,
True, right.
based on the feedback I have heard, the residents who have talked to me will support it. And that's taking a bet, but we'll hear the feedback. We'll hear the feedback, and if what I mean by the riots outside, if we hear very strong feedback opposed, we get to make our decision
By the end of the
as a
year.
commission body and say, you know what?
By the end of
It's
the year.
September of 2026. We did this, and we're not going to do it anymore. We heard enough feedback from our citizens. I'm even saying without a referendum. We're not, all of us 9 are capable of hearing
There's also
feedback
going
well.
to be an opportunity before you pass such an ordinance for citizens to make
We're
comment
gonna have
and
3
provide
readings.
provide you feedback about whether or
And
not they
that's
feel
two-
this is a good
two-
idea.
What, 2 public hearings or just one?
There would be there'd be 2 readings of the ordinance, and, I mean, we
Then
can
a-
go
then a
above and
vote on
beyond that if you really want to, and do a special work session and talk through the issues with citizens and have them come up and do it, if that was so desired. of the
So that
commission.
even provides some opportunity for some pre-feedback.
So then we could decide, if
So then
we
we
get
could
a
decide.
lot of negative feedback, we could decide to not.
Not to do it.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't do
We
the
To
ordinance.
not, to not do it.
Correct.
So I think with Commissioner Miller, it's similar to some of the other programs which Andrew brings. The city has to renew the ordinance, so the city could renew it year by year. And you could put in that ordinance that the city would have to.
So
by
sunset.
By October 1st of each year, the city commission must by a majority vote
Sure.
either approve, ratify a following year contract, or terminate. That way, the city can always be prospectively looking at what the rates are.
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, the crux would be the contract length, and I'm
Sure.
saying go for a contract length as a compromise of 1 year, just because the pain is lower. You're not going out on as much of a limb time-wise. Along with that, we could put a sunset that coincides with that contract length that we're going for, that would kill the ordinance at the same time via sunset,
And-
yeah.
And you could also negotiate that with Borden, with a 3-year contract contingent upon the voters approving
Or-
by October 1st
yeah.
of each year for the so 1 year with 2
Commission.
optional years.
You mean the commission?
The commission, yes.
Okay, so, but we're still gonna take it to a vote. Well, we wouldn't be taking it to a vote.
We
What
don't,
he's
No.
suggesting is not taking it to a vote.
Not
it's
taking it
just-
to a vote at all.
Given
We've
the,
talked about a lot of.
given the
different things.
jungle that he's presenting, that comes along with referenda and the problems with costs, that's what I'm saying is,
We would set up our own ordinance and we would renew it every year based on what the people say.
with an automatic
No.
sunset kicking off,
it would be an ordinance that would sunset well, however you structured it. It would sunset, either a period of every year, period of every 3 years, however the commission decided they wanted to structure it. It would sunset, and you as the commission would vote whether to continue it or not.
And with this initial one, I'm proposing 1 year only because I'm hearing from all of us, I'm hearing general collective opinion that we don't want to commit residents to a long time with something that they end up not liking. So I'm proposing a year as a compromise length of time that is it's a third as short as 3 years.
In other words, a pilot program to see what kind of feedback
Call
we
it
get.
what you want. Yeah, pilot program.
Pilot program.
I like that.
We're already doing it, but the
Okay.
cost just went up.
Do we have
And
consensus
we
on
will
that?
hear, I didn't think about it this way, but I can tell
We're
you,
gonna-
I've heard a lot about recycling. The north side may not be, but I can tell you, I can't speak for the whole precinct, but I can tell you, I've heard a lot about recycling. I've even had someone at my door. I mean, seriously, and I think just by doing it, you're right, we're gonna hear. It won't take until August.
Con-
We're gonna know
consider-
So does Andrew have consensus?
No?
From here.
One more thing, consider also that, as has been mentioned already, this is not a new idea I'm bringing up or a new angle. This has been mentioned before at prior meetings. However, if we don't continue recycling, it's pretty safe to say, for our toter, that costs are gonna go up somehow, some way. If people have the mini Nestle, let's say, the really tiny one that they carry, is it gonna fit all of their added recycling in there? That's a simple math problem, and I think the answer for a lot of the city, not all, not claiming all, but the answer is going to be that they're going to pay additional costs on the trash side anyway. So if we continue this, we're saving an unknown number of increased costs that we wouldn't know unless we went there, but we'd be saving, call it something.
Well,
Of
and the
increased
additional
cost.
trash it would be more expensive.
That's what I'm saying.
than-
Not for everybody, probably for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We don't know the dollar amount, but I know for us, our trash toter would balloon in what it's carrying.
You could get a burning barrel.
Not in the city.
I like the idea of the special election. I really do. Give a 6-month interruption of service. People can decide what they want. See just how much extra it is, how much they really do use it, and we'll just let them vote on it in May, and we can go from there.
We have not inquired, just so you know, if it did end, what would happen to all the bins? Would Borden come around and collect? And how?
They would. I mean,
They
they're
probably
going
would.
to come around
And what does
collect
that
their
have
bins.
do to the future bids if there was a disruption in service?
Yeah, they might look at it and say, what the heck are we gonna do with all these bins we got sitting around here? We'll have to cut our rates a little bit and get rid of them. They're better making some money than sitting here taking up space, costing money in real estate that you could be doing something else with. And Andrew said it was kind of a surprise that stopgap rates came in that much higher. It wasn't to me. So, or they might just leave the dumpsters there, the trash cans, and not pick them up.
There's too many of them.
It's possible. It's possible.
I mean, they would have been paid for years ago,
Sure.
so.
Yeah,
That would-
I
that would be
don't
quite the
know what
expense for them to
I don't
pick
know
up.
what their strategy when exiting a community is, but, yeah, that would all be things that we would have to understand under the setup. Maybe what makes sense, I mean, kind of going back to what TJ said, what makes sense is there appears to at least be some interest in an ordinance at some point. So maybe we need to look at what that ordinance looks like, bring that back to you, and then we can kind of lay out the scenarios that we've heard discussed that seem to be popular, and let you make a choice on how to move forward at next meeting.
And the date of that, if it's next meeting, the date of that is known, and
That would
Well,
also.
The residents of the city have every opportunity to voice their opinion either
I don't think
before
it'd be
then
ready for first reading.
Yeah, we're not,
We're not
first
ready
reading.
for first reading
Not
in
first
2
reading.
weeks.
Well,
No,
that-
no,
well,
Are we gonna have
or
time
whenever
for
that
that?
comes.
Are we gonna have time for that? To do a first reading, second reading
Well,
before?
I guess,
I mean, because I would rather just, if that's the route we're gonna go, we just do it now so that we can start the first, second reading, so that we don't run out of time. I mean, we are,
Well,
October's just next week. I mean, we got
If
3
you did a
months.
first reading at the first meeting in November,
We
there
got
would
6
be enough
meetings
time.
left.
yeah,
We got 6 meetings left for the end of the year. Do you have enough time to wait another
I mean,
2 weeks, or can we just do it now? Give Andrew direction today so he can get started now.
I mean, we can, again, it's whatever the commission desires to do.
Yes.
If
Andrew,
you
what's
wanna
your
get it
choice?
going, we can get it going.
Staff recommendation.
Get it going.
Andrew's
I
not the
mean-
commission.
What's your recommendation?
I-
Or what would you prefer, Andrew?
I would say, I would give everybody a chance to think about all the various options that we talked about at this meeting. Come back next meeting, have some draft ordinance language so everybody understands exactly what we're talking about. That'll also give citizens a chance to come, express their views at the commission, positive and negative, about what, all the various things we've talked about at this meeting. We still have time to do a first and second reading before the end of the year.
Okay.
So when the ordinance comes in, we can still make a motion to approve or not approve, whichever, and vote accordingly. And
do that too.
then keep it on the books,
So
clear it off the
then
books, and move on to Plan B.
Community's gonna know that they're gonna pay for this,
Yeah.
100%.
They're paying, back to
paying
Andrew's
$6
original
then.
point, we've been doing this for some time, but
10 years?
like
No,
everything
more
else on the
than
face of the earth,
2008.
except for,
Almost, yeah.
except for popcorn at high school football games,
2007.
everything else in the world has gone up.
I just paid $4 for a candy bar for my wife yesterday.
Oh, but
Very
you're only
upset.
paying $1 for popcorn at high school football games.
Yeah, stamps.
Costco hot
Stamps,
dogs are staying
if
pretty
anybody has bought a first-class stamp in a
Andrew
while,
has direction.
Do I have?
do you know how much first-class
Andrew has
stamps are?
direction.
I like it.
Okay.
78 cents.
Yes,
78 cents for a first-class
All right,
stamp.
Andrew.
Frightening.
yes.
We'll put out, Andrew may send out an email indicating some things to think about or things that we may need direction once we get some bones in there of what the commission wants to see. Because there's a lot of input that the commission's gonna have to put into this, but we can put that out in an email, and not put anybody on the spot to try to come up with it all tonight, so. That'll also.
And
give you-
that also, next meeting allows us to make some changes to that too, so. We can provide some staff recommendations. Okay,
What-
I'm good, I got my direction.
What a great discussion. All right, moving on. With the agenda, if there's any visitor that'd like to make a public comment on items not listed on the agenda, please feel free to come to the podium. All right, okay, we do have one.
Yes, we do.
All right,
Hold on,
state your
Speedy.
name and address, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. My name is Catherine Myers, Executive Director for Sturgis Neighborhood Program. I want to just give a quick reminder that SNP's Community Cleanup, or Dumpster Day, as we've called it, is coming up Saturday, October 11th, from 9 to 11 a.m. Thanks to the first 2 events that we've had, we've eliminated about 240 cubic yards of trash and household debris from our community. So this will be our 3rd event since October of 2024. We're still in need of some volunteers, and we also have flyers available if you would like to help or spread the word to your constituents, colleagues, friends, and family. I want to thank you for your continued support of SNP's mission to improve living conditions in Sturgis through our neighbor-to-neighbor programs and other housing improvement programs, and especially tonight for providing the property, equipment, and equipment operators that are able to make our events possible.
Thank you. I'll take a flyer.
Okay?
You said
Any questions?
October 11th, you said?
Thank
Same
you.
day as styrofoam
Over to my
recycling.
office.
Correct, same day as Sarah.
Okay. Same, different location?
I would suggest if
kids
you're
at
gonna
soccer
do
outside,
anything, you do this one first.
I'm in
because they run
Detroit,
an hour
so
ahead of
I'd
time,
be
and we
there.
didn't last till 11 last year.
Oh, wow.
Styrofoam usually, I already have mine, thank you.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Any other visitors? Okay. Wow, we're making progress. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
First, I have motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
So we have a motion. Support. And support, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We have no unfinished business tonight. Moving on to new business, we have police vehicles, Ms. Holly Kaiser and Sadie Griffith.
Thank you.
Welcome tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor and City Commissioners. We're gonna split our agenda items up. I'm taking the police ones. Normally, I think Ryan would be here to present on these, but I'm covering for that because of the time constraints on the government allocations for these vehicles. So that's why we are bringing them tonight for your consideration. So as part of the 25-26 budget, there are 10 vehicles that are expected to be leased through the partnership with the Enterprise Fleet Management. We are bringing 2 of those vehicles to you tonight. The main reason for that is because one of the vehicles, which is the Tahoe, the Chevy Tahoe, is only available through government allocation, and Enterprise has secured an allocation. So you have to let them know by the end of this. We actually got an extension to get it by the end of this month to get it in for our allocation. Daniel Brown is also on the call too, in case you have any questions. He's our Enterprise contact that we work with. So since we were bringing this one anyway, we decided that since we got the numbers for the other vehicle, the Ford Police Interceptor utility, since we had both of them available, we thought, why not knock both those out here at this City Commission meeting for your consideration. So included in your packet, this will actually replace 2 Durangos that are in the police fleet, and the lease cost is included in the packet. And again, just the point of the Enterprise Fleet program is designed to, reduce the overall fleet costs over time using efficient life cycle management and maximizing our resale value. So it's nice working with Enterprise. It's nice that they keep up on, when the order windows open up for these things, and with the allocations and that type of thing. They are on top of that, so that's very helpful. So entertain any questions?
For Holly or Enterprise? No? What's the wish of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the lease of a Chevrolet Tahoe police vehicle and Ford Police Interceptor utility through Enterprise Fleet Management as presented.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the disposal of 2 2020 Dodge Durango police units through Enterprise Fleet Management as presented.
So we have a motion
Support.
and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Danny, for being on the call.
Thank you.
Moving on with the agenda is Public Act 152, election, Sadie Griffith.
Thank you. With Public Act 152, it limits the amount that public employers may pay for government employee medical benefits. Legislation provides a maximum per year amount, which is called a hard cap, that the public employer would pay. These maximum amounts for 2026 is $7,942.09 for a single, $16,609.38 for a 2-person, and $21,660.30 for a family. This would be for both the PPO and high deductible plans at this level. However, legislation does offer 2 alternatives for local municipalities. With majority vote, the city could opt into an 80-20% sharing arrangement with employees, where employees would pay, the city would pay no more than 80% of the healthcare costs. The second alternative is to opt out, meaning that the city wouldn't be required to follow this legislation. The law requires action to to be taken by December 31st of 2025 for the next calendar year. All new hires in the city have the option for the high deductible plan currently when they enroll. A majority have chosen this high deductible plan. There are still a few remaining on the PPO plan. Last year, the commission approved the resolution to exercise the option to opt out, meaning that we wouldn't have to follow the hard caps or elect the 80-20 rule. Currently, those on the PPO plan are paying the 20% premium cost. And currently, we have elected our own caps on the high deductible plan. So we're recommending that for this year, we stay consistent with what we had in 2025. For the high deductible plan, a single contract would be $200 for the employee and $300 for all others. With this recommendation, it gives the employees, a health incentive to work for the city. And ultimately, with the incentives that we provide, the employee could pay zero for their medical costs. While also opting out, if the employee chooses to opt out of medical coverage here with the city, they would receive a $3,500 reimbursement and $200 for dental. The city is recommending to continue to keep their health saving account contribution at $1,200 for 2026 year. The hard caps were provided in your packet as well as the resolution. I think this is the best recommendation for this year. We continue to look at, healthcare costs going forward, and if this is the best pricing for our employees going forward.
Any questions for Steve?
I made a note to myself, and I'm trying to remember, what was I thinking? It was just yesterday. The ones on the HDP, the plan, which is the majority of employees, you said, are the city's cost for them equal, less than, equal, or greater than the caps that they have? It was more of a curiosity question, or
They're
does
higher.
it, or is it all over the
It's
plan?
higher. So the city is paying higher
So
than the
we are
hard
paying
caps.
higher than the maximum per year that's in the bill. Okay, we probably went over this last year, but it's one of those things that came to mind when I was reading this. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission adopt the resolution to control municipal health care costs as presented.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Next on the agenda is the State Line Substation Steel Structure Bids. Chris MacArthur.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Hey, welcome, Chris.
Tuesday, yes, sorry I couldn't be there in person, actually at the MMA fall conference. So, in the 2025-26 budget, we included construction of the State Line Substation. This substation is being constructed to allow for the distribution of power to the south side of the city and also to allow the battery storage project to feed into. We have been bringing numerous components that have longer lead time items to commission for approval and are now getting closer to the construction. We actually had a construction pre-bid meeting on Monday, so those bids will be coming in October, and we will be bringing that construction back to you. Staff went out for bid for the substation steel structures and received 3 bids from Resco, MBA Power, and Irby. Resco submitted the low bid for the project with a lead time of 38 to 40 weeks, while MBA Power's lead time for the project was 22 weeks. It's about 50,000 higher. After internal discussion with the engineer regarding the project timeline and the impact of longer lead time, staff is recommending a low bidder, Resco. We did include a budget cost spreadsheet for the project. that is including this bid in your packet. I will say that I need to update that number because I had MDA Power's number in there. I need to change that to Resco's number.
Okay. Any questions for Chris?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the bid from Resco in the amount of $240,835 for the state line substation steel structures as presented.
So we have a motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is the 2025 street rehab bids. Mr. Barry Cox.
I'm sure this is a favorite topic for the mayor.
Barry, I want to
Thank
say,
you, Mayor.
I want to apologize for my earlier conversation, and I appreciate TJ's advice, so
Quite
thank you,
all right.
TJ. Sorry about that, Barry.
Maybe talk later. We'll see. I do kind of disagree with the whole concept of the streets are getting worse, though. I would take our. Anyway, and we're, that doesn't mean that we're not trying. I will say that. It does not mean we're not trying. So, the city did receive bids on September 15th for the 2025 street rehabilitation project. We did receive 3 bids, and you have a bid tab summary and letter of recommendation of award in your packet. The low red, as read bidder, was Reith Riley Construction Incorporated out of Kalamazoo in the amount of $673,228.20. Our engineer's estimate was $878,000 for the designed project. This project is being funded out of the Major Street Fund to the tune of $327,000 and some change, and the local street fund for $526,000 in the fiscal year 25-26 budget. So there's a map associated with this little project. There's 9 different streets and 20 different segments related to those streets. So basically, a segment is a block in this particular aspect of things. This project is the first attempt to kind of intertwine our lead service line replacement project with our paving project. Kind of the first foray we ever tried it for was South Orange as part of that particular project, which did 3 streets. Obviously, here, some of these segments were suggested by commissioners at some point. Obviously, wholeheartedly agreed. I'd love to have done more, but as we've been challenged a little bit to do as much as we'd hoped we would be able to do in the lead service line project, we had to pull a couple of streets out of there that we knew we could not get done. However, the streets in this particular project that do have lead service line replacements, Market Street has a block of that. North Clay Street has had several blocks of that. West Electric, South Electric, and Cornelia were part of that, as well as Grove and Prairie. So you can see a pretty healthy chunk of this particular project is after we've done, hopefully, any work that we really need to do on these streets so that we don't have to go back into them again. Again, making the fewer cuts, the fewer damages we do the streets, the longer they're going to last, hopefully, fingers crossed. So, each street segment gets some different treatment based on what we have for existing pavement profiles, what we know about the street, the asphalt layer thicknesses. Some of these are going to require ADA ramp upgrades, although I was trying to keep those to a minimum in this particular project, which the ramp upgrades requires curb and gutter removals in some spots, and then some minor adjustments of castings and structures. So of this project, the West Electric, South Electric, Cornelia area, after we had the project designed, we had done pavement cores in advance of the design work. And the pavement cores only really told me the thicknesses of the asphalt layer. Didn't really tell me anything about the asphalt. And we found the second layer that we were going to mill down to, that layer we have found historically to be a very bad material to try to keep in our pavements. So one of the things that we are recommending tonight for these three segments is to, the initial thing was just to resurface the street at 1.5 inches. We are suggesting for these three streets that we want to take that other intermediate layer of asphalt off and basically do a 2-course layer in these three street segments, because the material that's there is very undesirable, and we want a long-term solution where we can get it. It's also the same thing that we found on Prairie Street. Prairie Street, I knew about it in advance of, so we planned for a 4-inch mill of asphalt on that particular section. So that being not part of this particular project, to do that deep, there's additional costs in those bid items to the tune of about $48,000 beyond what Ruth Riley's original bid was. Other aspect to this project that was not initially, it was discussed. Obviously you could see the engineer's estimate got to quite a significant number. We were cognizant of the budget, and we didn't want to put together a project that was going to cost $1.1 million when we only had, what we have in the spreadsheet, which is we had budgeted, which is $853,000. So it was, Mortimer Avenue was initially planned to be part of this project, and it was pulled out. However, given the cost for the pavement, or specifically the asphalt portion of the bid, is a really good price, much better than the other two bidders on this particular project. So I think it's advantageous to us to do the resurfacing of Mortimer. It has been a street that we've had several complaints about ability to patch. And the thickness that's currently on it is so thin that when the top busts off of it, public services can't really cold patch it to get it to stay. So it's just kind of breaking off in sheets. So that particular street, we don't believe has any lead service lines, and so that was an additional street that I'd like to add to the project for your consideration. Again, strangely, the cost of this one is $48,000 approximately. So those are the two changes to the original bid that I would like to put forth before you this evening for discussion, and happy to have any additional discussions regarding this project.
Any questions for Barry?
I have one. On the chart under the street rehabilitation project, I noticed that you had 2027 design costs of $72,000. Why are we including that in our 25-26 budget?
I can field that one.
The original budget was $32,000.
Correct. So we, when we budgeted for these projects, went through the budgeting process, we had included construction costs as well as design for the following year, which we often will do in the line item. We had included $32,000 for the design budget. If you can see by looking at the design cost for this project, we're up well over $32,000. So as we're looking at the budget, we wanted to reflect that we still plan on doing design work this fiscal year for, and we say 2027 design project, think of it as fiscal year 2026, 27. We'd probably be looking at, a later summer, fall project this time next year. So again, we have to design that. There's a cost associated with it. We wanted to make sure it was reflected at what it was actually going to end up at. So as we were amending the budget, we wanted to make sure we showed that.
Okay.
I do want to add, not all of these streets are going to be done yet this fall. There's a small possibility that they will be, but in the bid, we structured this to say we absolutely wanted to get North Clay completed, because we've done a number of service replacements there, as well as West Electric, South Electric, and Cornelia. So those are the 4 segments that are going to get done this year. Contractor has the option to, if they think they can complete the entirety of the project, to do all of them. That would be great, but that was not the requirement. So the rest of this will happen in the spring if they don't complete it this fall.
Thank you for that, Barry.
And you're looking at probably the rest of the electric court block next year?
No,
No? Is that North Electric Court that runs across the top? That's bad too.
well, that is true. North Electrics and East Electric were both completed in 2007, and so pavement's getting up there, obviously. South Prospect is probably a more significant as far as a bad street. Understand Commissioner Smith, I don't always select the worst streets to resurface. We're trying to, like I said, we're trying to mesh certain aspects of multiple different aspects of the city in these projects.
Yeah, well, that's what got me interested about the electric court, because it's just one little block thing there in the middle of nowhere, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, and true, that area had not been paved since 1988, I think.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
So, and there were significant residential
Wow.
complaints regarding that area. So,
Yeah.
it was, their complaints were valid. I'm not saying I don't never do the worst streets in town. I'm just saying it's not always the worst streets in town. And these are definitely, these three are definitely in terrible shape.
Yeah, and I noticed you got a block of Market Street there that's not on that. And I was all ready to get upset until I actually looked, and I'm so used to the rest of it being so bad, I just thought that one was. It's
Thought about
mediocre.
You know when that one was built? 2001, 2002.
Really? It's got nice looking curbs and gutters on it for
It does.
that. That's a surprise. Yeah, thank you.
I'm not sure how you can remember those dates, but I commend you for it.
That's because I was here.
Any other questions for Barry? No, there's 4 motions.
I just got a quick one on
Yes.
lead service lines, because I don't remember the timing. The South Nottawa and Pleasant, the brick portions, are there any lead service lines underneath those roads since they've were done recently?
Right. So South Nottawa, we replaced the water main all the way from US 12 all the way down to Cottage. So as part of that, we always replace the city's portion from the main to the curb box. So that portion is copper. It was lead at one time. Any of the home services in that 4-block section that do not have a copper or plastic line into the house, the city will ultimately be responsible for. But we will not have to get into the street on South Nottawa to do those replacements. We've already had to do, well, there's already been a couple in the 400 block since the road's been redone. Pleasant was the first street that we did, that we went all the way into the house.
Oh, okay.
So that one's squared away.
Thanks.
I just want to confirm that the proposed contingency budget is now 38.5 because of the addition of Mortimer and the electric court costs. The words say 34, and the numerals say 38.5.
Good catch.
Should be 38.
Just, I mean, the numbers work out for the 5%, that it's another 4 or 5 on top of it, but just making sure.
So it probably should be 38.5?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yep.
That was a test. Best.
Well, if I have to read it and I realize the word, you know, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission award the contract for the 2025 street rehabilitation project to Reith Riley Construction Company Incorporated of Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the amount of $673,228.20, and authorize the city manager to sign contract documents on behalf of the city.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve an additional $48,000 to modify the treatment option for West Electric, South Electric, and Cornelia Street in the 2025 street rehabilitation contract.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So
And Mr.
moved.
Mayor, move that the Sturgis City Commission approve an additional $48,000 to add Mortimer Avenue to the 2025 street rehabilitation contract.
So have a motion
Second.
and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And finally, I move, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve a contingency budget of $38,500 for the 2025 street rehabilitation project, which is approximately 5% of the construction bid amount.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
And then next, we have North Centerville Road, storm sewer cleaning, Mr. Barry Cox, Phase 1.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So the city, of course, has been collaborating with Newell Brands for a number of years on the Superfund, EPA Superfund site. Their consultant, their newest consultant is Environmental Resources Management, and they are overseeing the cleanup for the groundwater aquifer for the last several years. And one of the things that we have found during this collaboration process is that we are seeing a material buildup within our storm sewers where these cleanup facilities are discharging to. The material is called, we're calling it struvite. It is basically a calcium-based material that after it discharges, it has a tendency to it's fairly active and it wants to settle out, and it settles onto anything that it can grab onto. And so it builds up a layer upon layer upon layer of material over the course of time in the storm sewer. So once we have determined this, we've had some past discussions on this issue about cleaning the storm sewers, and Newell Brands didn't have a great interest in doing that. They felt it was our storm sewers to maintain, and they weren't real excited about the idea of trying to work in our storm sewers when they weren't the owner of them. So they didn't want to design and bid this project to get this material out of here, and they desired the city to do that work. So we have been working with the consultant, Fishbeck, to design a cleaning project, and that's what we have before you this evening. It's meant to be something where we do the work and then we submit costs to Newell Brands, ERM, for reimbursement of that work and that time spent. So we put together, Fishbeck put together the project, bid documents and specifications for the work. It went out for bid in July. We received bids back in middle of August 18th, to do a phased approach to cleaning on North Centerville Road. So our original bid document was included 2,450 feet, lineal feet of storm sewer, basically from their discharge point for one of their active extraction wells downstream, that 2,450 feet of 27-inch pipe and 42-inch pipe. So that was the original bid scope on this particular project. So you have a bid tab summary, and a letter of recommendation of award from Fishbeck is included in your packet. The low bidder for the as-read bid was National Power Rodding Corporation out of Chicago in the amount of $736,750. Project costs for this project would be paid through the Major and Local Streets program and reimbursed by Newell Brands through invoicing. Now, this was a little higher than City Commission expected the cost to come in, and so we presented this information to Newell and ERM regarding the bid documents and what the bids came back as, and we had several discussions regarding options to potentially alter what the scope of the project was. Ultimately, what we're trying to accomplish here on this material is it's very hard material. When it's submerged in water for long periods of time, it has a certain level of challenge. It looks like concrete, And so we're not 100% sure how to get rid of it, how to remove it. So doing the short segment will help allow us to evaluate some of the methods that were provided by both bidders. This particular bidder, NPR, provided several different options for methodologies to clean this material off. NPR, we have worked with before a number of years ago, actually 10 years ago. They did a majority of the sanitary sewer cleaning and televising as part of our ANT program in 2015 and 16. So we find their work to be pretty acceptable. So we came up with a reduced scope package that we presented, that we felt comfortable doing, that would give us the answers that we hoped would allow us to continue the next phases of this project downstream. And that reduced scope works out to a price that we've already discussed, the concept of the reduced scope with the low bidder, to $234,300. So we expect that this will allow us to help clean this portion of the pipe right by the discharge. It'll help us evaluate the cleaning methods that were used, because we televise it after they get it clean, and it will help us better specify the project scope going forward for larger pieces of pipe. So also, we're looking at a 10% contingency on this project.
Questions for Barry?
Question for either Andrew or Barry or both. I know this has been going on with Newell Brands for a long time. When reading this the other day, I thought, this is a lot of money. Costs will then be invoiced to Newell Brands for reimbursement. I know they're under oversight by Eagle and maybe the EPA too, but invoicing $230,000, what sort of, they say they will reimburse the city, but given the amount of money, what sort of controls are there? I believe them, but
Yeah.
it was just a question. I thought, invoice.
I was thinking.
I'll turn that one
That's
right
a
over to
lot.
TJ. We do have
We have
agreements, but I'll let him
multiple
explain.
agreements
Yeah.
with Newell.
Okay.
So there's an agreement that 1994
That sounds about right.
that talks about the setup when they created the Superfund sites, and we're going to put the bubblers in and discharge. Newell doesn't own, or their predecessor didn't own anywhere to put the water. So they were required to come to the city, enter into an agreement for use or discharge into our storm sewers. And as a part of that agreement, I don't know who drafted it, but there's one line at the very end that indicates they're responsible and liable for any and all maintenance upkeep costs associated with their discharge into our storm sewers. So they have from time to time attempted to renegotiate or try to get a second agreement to that, of which I know Mike Hughes was never having any of that noise, nor is Andrew. And so we have a clause in there, and they push back, but ultimately relent to acknowledging they have to pay for what is there. So we do have a contract and an agreement.
Okay.
Ultimately, you could go to court, or the city could put a cease and desist on discharging into our storm sewer, and then I guess they could pull trucks up and fill them up on a daily basis and figure out where they take their water, so.
No more trucks.
That is helpful context. Thank you.
Any other questions for Barry?
Maybe this shows my ignorance, but what is being discharged into the sewer is that
Stormwater.
storm
Stormwater.
What is the water that's being discharged into the storm sewer?
that it's doing that? Is that environmentally okay?
Well, I think, Commissioner Wiki, most individuals in town really recognize we have very hard water. And that hard water is, so they're cleaning up pollutants out of the groundwater. So they're pumping that water out. They're pumping it into a carbon filtration vertical tower. And the carbon filter tower basically cleans out the pollutants aspect of it. And so like I said, it's calcium is the primary thing, and so that's something that's typically a water-based thing. I think there's magnesium. Basically anything that's part of the hardness of water is part of what's collecting.
Gotcha.
So it's clean from Eagle's perspective. Eagle has, they're the oversight body for them. We get, I think occasionally we get reports from ERM or Newell if we so request one regarding what they've discharged. I do know I have some, I'm not fluent in them. But I wouldn't imagine they would be able to accomplish that if Eagle was not allowing them to.
Thank you.
They do intend to try to do this project yet this fall. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Barry?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the contract for the North Centerville Road Storm Sewer Cleaning and Televising Phase 1 project to National Power Rod Incorporated, Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $234,300, and authorize the city manager to sign contract documents on behalf of the city.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve a contingency budget of $23,500 for the North Centerville Road Storm Sewer Cleaning and Televising Phase 1 project, which is approximately 10% of the construction bid amount.
So we have a motion
Support.
and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the budget amendments. Ms. Holly Kaiser and Sadie Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City
Flipping a coin on
Commissioners.
who's going to give us the bad news?
We got it.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah, and the reason we included that design on the street, on that, just was so we made sure we had plenty of funds available in the allocated budget. So I'm going to talk about the fiscal year 24-25 budget amendments first. And these are, it's common for us to do these amendments at the end of the year. A lot of the changes that are in here are things that we've already had discussed during the budget process. It's just when we discuss them during the budget process, even though it's in our estimated document here, we haven't formally actually adopted those changes, and we don't necessarily adopt all those changes. So included in your packet is a budget memo that outlines, and we're looking at the Amendment 2, which is for today. The memo shows previous amendments. So first off, in the general fund, the main one there under revenue, we did do an amendment for the parking lot. That was for the parking lot project that we've been working on, the downtown parking lots. That was a carryover from last year. We had amended that back in April. Upon further investigation, the RAP fund portion of the project, which is the amount that we have this year, is actually state money and not federal money. So part of this change is moving it from federal sources to state sources to better reflect where that money's coming from. And then under the state sources, increasing for the actual LCSA money, the Local Community Stabilization Authority funds, as well as increases in interest revenue. And then again, during the budget process, we had an estimated, we expected maybe to have a slightly positive bottom line. We're not really required to amend all the line items. We still expect that we may come in better than what we have budgeted here, but we just want to make sure that none of the individual categories that we go over. So the other one that's listed here is under recreation and culture, and that is to amend the budget to reflect additional mulch that is being acquired in order to increase the level of mulch on all the playgrounds as a result of the work session that we had on the playgrounds recently. And then lastly, in the general fund, the contributions to other funds, when we change how we want to transfer funds from the in or out of the general fund between different funds, we definitely want to bring those to you for approval. So we are, and most of these are, to avoid, we can't have a negative, we can adopt a budget where expenditures are higher than revenue, but we can't have a resulting negative fund balance. That's really important. So some of these changes are to make sure that we don't have a negative fund balance. So, and like I said, most of these, I believe, all of these actually were discussed during the budget workshop. So increasing the transfer to the cemetery fund, decreasing the transfer to the recreation fund, increasing the general fund transfer to the Doyle Community Center, and then increasing the capital reserve transfer of 100. That is not to avoid a negative fund balance. That was just wanting to move some of the excess from the previous fiscal year actual into the capital reserve fund, as we discussed. The second page is the Downtown Development Authority. This actually, most of these changes were actually approved by the DDA board back in August. So it's just bringing it to the City Commission also for approval. There are the main thing there had to do with the property tax. The original budget had an additional property tax in there that was not approved, and so just making those changes, which was offset by expenses. The other one was to reflect the Match on Main program, which was for the My Freaking Pizza Downtown, to reflect the in and out for that grant program, as well as adding funds for the downtown facade improvement grant project this year. So those are the things there. The cemetery fund, again, just reflecting the contribution from general fund and an anticipated decrease in the contribution from the endowment fund, and that's just based on the endowment fund, we transferred the actual earnings from the cemetery endowment fund, and they have been less than originally. Plus, if we don't do capital, we aren't moving those funds. Sturgis Young Center for the Arts, just reflecting that we didn't do a loan this year for the capital projects, and then lower ticket sales. Those expenses were offset by decreases in capital. Recreation fund, again, they're just showing the decrease from the general fund. The Doyle Center revenue, decreasing revenue by 90 to reflect the decrease in membership revenue, and then increasing the contribution from the general fund. Again, just trying to make sure that we keep that fund balance positive. And then the capital reserve reflecting the additional 100,000 contribution from the general fund there. In the airport fund, adjusting the revenue and expenses. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the airport fund during the budget work sessions, and this is just to align the budget closer with what was presented during the budget work sessions, with the estimated capital and grant revenue that we were expecting. The other main thing in the airport fund had to do, if you remember, the lighting. We had a lightning strike at the airport, remember, and we had insurance covered a large portion of that, but we actually received the insurance funds last year. In the original budget, we had budgeted for both the project and the insurance in this year, but the auditor said, no, you got the money, you got to record it last year and include it in fund balance. So that 105 is, or the part of the decrease in revenue has to do with moving that. So it's kind of offset by some grants. And then there was an extra page that was laid out in front of you that we had to add one more page that wasn't included. And these are all things that we talked about, but didn't include it in the first go around, and that was the big bonds that we issued this year for the water and streets. We need to actually formally adopt the budget for that capital project for this year that shows the bond proceeds and all the transfers out to water and street and sidewalk. So that's the first thing. The second portion is just the street portion of that project. Need to show the contribution coming in from those bonds. And then lastly, as we talked about during the budget work session, wanting to, I don't think any of us expected this process to be as long as it has been, but wanting to actually show the $3 million for the, as part of the sale with the hospital and relieving of getting out of the sublease, actually to show that, recognize it as revenue so that you can see it in the fund balance. That is how it's presented in the budget that you have for next year. Right now, it had been sitting on the balance sheet as unearned, as unearned revenue with the intention eventually to be used toward the refinancing of the bonds, which it will also still be used for that. It's a little bit more obvious to you when you're looking at the budget to see it sitting in fund balance there. It's a lot to digest, but usually is this last go around. So that is the 24-25 proposed budget amendments. Do you have any questions about those at this time?
Any questions for Holly?
Which November was it when we came to that $3 million deal? Was it 22 or 23?
23.
23, okay. So we're coming up on the 2-year mark. Okay. Couldn't remember if it was 2 years or 3 years.
Wasn't it? October 22nd?
It
November
was
30?
October, I want to say October.
Oh, okay.
October 22nd. Any questions, any other questions for Holly? What's the wish of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the budget amendments for fiscal year 2024-2025 as presented.
So we have a motion.
Support.
And support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So vote.
Now I'll turn it over to Sadie for the next half.
I know we just got our budget packets for 2025, 2026, but wanting to piggyback off of what Barry just presented and make that part of our discussion tonight. So really, we're amending, next year's fiscal budget for major and local streets to reflect the increases that Barry spoke about and his projects that are coming up with North Centerville storm, sewer, televising, cleaning, and as well as the street rehabilitation project.
Any questions for Sadie? Now you guys making it too easy on the new controller.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Sturgis City Commission approve the budget amendments for fiscal year 2025-2026 as presented.
So we have a motion
Second.
and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Next on the agenda is commissioner and staff comments. And we'll start with you, Ms. Holly Kaiser.
The ink is just not even dry on these yet. That happens sometimes. Yeah. Nope. It has been really fun. Just a couple more meetings.
Couple more meetings.
Meetings,
Countdown.
but yeah, it's been very fun, and you guys are going to be in very good hands.
Oh, great. Thank you. Sadie?
Thank you for your time tonight. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rhodes?
Recycling, anyone? No?
I thought you were gonna say, how about them Bears?
We got to play next week, we'll see.
Barry? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items, just of note that we found out today. So it looks like Monday looks to be a pretty dry day, so I've been informed that they're going to be paving the second course on St. Joe up to Jefferson on Monday. Also Monday, we're going to be having a contractor in to do line striping on all the long lines, so white and yellow lines, so try to avoid them if we can. And then I have one other thing I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about, discuss regarding our local railroad. So MDOT rail section has a grant program which is called the Local Grade Crossing Improvement Grant. It's a program where 60% of the construction costs to improve the railroad grade crossing will be paid for by the state, and the remaining 40% will be paid for by the railroad. There's 0% that's getting paid for by the road authority, which is a nice deal. The only thing is, the railroad can't submit for this grant. The city has to submit for this grant. So I was informed at the beginning of September that the local railroad has an interest in completing improvements and submitting a grant application for North Clay Street. This is advantageous for them that we are looking to resurface North Clay Street, so it looks like it's a conjunctive program where they're doing something probably next year, assuming they get the grant, and then we're doing resurfacing up to that point. So it makes basically the pavement through that whole area, if they get the grant, continuous. So just wanted to, I don't know, is there anything else, Andrew, I was supposed to say other than give me a big thumbs up? Let's do this.
Absolutely.
That railroad crossing is a little hard on my teeth when I go across it with a golf cart.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to get rid of any of the sidings or anything, because there's 3 different rails that go through there. It's going to be a hard crossing no matter what, but at least they're trying to improve their section as well as improving the road.
It used to be a lot worse.
It did. We actually went in there and did some paving a number of years ago, but it's starting to fail. I think that's it.
You want to tell them about Memorial Park while you're up there? So you're not
Oh,
back
come
up?
on now. Why do I want to tell them about something good, right? So, we contracted with XL Paving out of Coldwater to do a resurfacing of the Memorial Park Memorial Park parking lot. This was something that was in the budget this very last year that Tony coordinated getting into the budget before he left. So it came to me, and we got that paved. It looks pretty good, pretty solid, pretty much what we wanted. So go check it out. See what you think on it. So, we're trying to do the same thing at the dog park, maybe before the end of the year.
All right, thank you, Barry. Officer Kreitz, you got anything? No? Anything from the media? No? Well, we're glad you're here, making sure we're safe. Nothing from the media? TJ?
I've used my words up for tonight.
Andrew?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. Other than the things Barry brought up, wanted to just make sure you all saw the invitation from the Sturgis Area Chamber of Commerce related to the preview of the community video. So this was it's a project they're doing, little way to highlight the community, helps with local businesses, helps with general community promotion. We signed on to be a sponsor of that video along with the schools and a couple other local businesses. So wanted to make sure you saw that and were aware of that. So that's I think a very positive thing. Other than that, you'd already heard about Sturgis Neighborhood Program Fall Cleanup on October 11th. We also have Barbecue Fest this Saturday. If you remember, it's also Downtown Day, and we're trying to get as many commissioners and staff and others out there supporting downtown on that day as possible. So you'll see me out there at least a little bit. If you come early enough, you'll see me setting up with the chamber. But I should be out there later in the day for a little bit as well. Also, just wanted to mention, Holly kind of mentioned it, you have your budgets in front of you for next fiscal year, so that's complete. And then just want to mention MML convention, had a good time at that last week. Learned some things, as I mentioned, some things about the recycling. We saw some good presentations about the impact of art in the community and how that can play in. And I also learned some stuff about forestry and forestry ordinances, which was very timely because we're taking a deep look at our forestry ordinance. So got some lessons to bring back from that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Commissioner Harrington?
No, I'm all set. They were talking about, I went to the school thing last night, the final one, and the assignment was to they prioritize the different categories of school improvement and a cost to do that in hopes of suggestions for how to put a bond proposal through, telling us to come up with something no more than like 90,000 or million rather. So the fact is, I think there may be something school-related coming up this year. They're really working on a bond proposal. And one of the interesting things that somebody had prioritized was a new auditorium. I hope that won't be on the bond proposal because that would nix it for me, but just, the school puts it, I don't think anybody suggests, and the other one I liked is to, and many of the tables came up with this one too, was to switch the stands around so that the home team faces east, so you
The
don't have the
sun.
sun in your eyes.
Right.
Yeah, that was a substantial amount of money to do that,
That's
but
gonna
it
solve
was
all
a
the
high
problems.
priority on many people's list. But it was
He'll start winning.
interesting to see some of the ideas that they're working on for their bond proposal.
But first we gotta win. You know,
Well, there's that, but nothing else.
I'm gonna purposely skip Kathy.
Thank you.
So we can discuss some stuff at the end.
Okay.
Commissioner Moore,
I'm good.
Commissioner Wick. Welcome, glad you feel better. Commissioner Mellon.
Yeah, since our friend over here is not here tonight, somebody has to fill in. And I'm going into Marv territory too.
Wow.
Today is
2 for 1.
National Punctuation Day. It's never good to get punctuation wrong, period. Oh. On a better note, to fill in for Jeff tonight, why is it important to be kind? It's because we walk past hundreds of people every day, and none of them wear signs that say, I'm grieving, I'm exhausted, or I'm barely holding it together. But those people are everywhere. Kindness might be the only softness they receive today. It's from the Success Portal, and I don't think it's coincidence that it's from the Success Portal. Kindness goes along with success, so be kind. There's a reminder since Jeff's not here.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Smith?
Tomorrow is National Lobster Day. It is also National Better Breakfast Day, National Cooking Day, and National Quesadilla Day. So if anybody wants to volunteer to get up in the morning and make me a nice lobster quesadilla for breakfast, let me know.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Commissioner, or Mayor, Vice Mayor Burke?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else got anything in the letter, in the mail, letter from the hospital.
Yes?
I'm pretty perturbed at the administration's efforts, since they were hacked in December, and apparently they hired a expert, cyber expert to fix their computer, and then they were hacked again in June, and then they hired somebody else again. I'd like to know the two companies, so I could definitely not recommend them to anyone else. But 77,000 possible accounts were hacked, so the hospital doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot of good things lately. And it just goes along with the demise that started way back when the city sold the hospital. And that's all I got to say.
Okay. I'd like to discuss the MML conference that Andrew and Commissioner Abs and I attended. I think it was very well put together. And feel free to chime in at any point.
That's the first one I've been to, and I have to say, kind of in agreement with Andrew, and maybe in addition, I'll have something humorous. I didn't bring my notes, but I knew what you were going to do.
Yeah.
The one session, it's humorous in one way, it's not in another, but Andrew said when we were looking at the breakout sessions, you know, which we were going, so we'd split up to make sure we had things covered that we want. And when it came to Thursday afternoon, he said, well, I think I know which one you want to go to. And he said, it's civility in your community. Should we agree to disagree? He said, I think we should go with that one. In all sincerity, during that, I mean, there wasn't a lot that was said that really we don't all know already or should practice. But they stated about the stress that municipal officials have. I kind of went into that. Really, none of it was new. But at the very end, there was a lady that had time for questions. And a lady said, well, what do you think of an official using the city's Facebook for her own personal use? And we're all sort of sitting there, and, you know, he started to speak. Well, right after she spoke, a lady on the other side of the room said, she's not telling you the whole story. I don't make a dime from it. And that was the end of our civility session. And the lawyer that was giving it, she said, so what do you think about someone? And he just finally said, you know, I don't really think that it would be appropriate for me to answer that without knowing everything here. That's how the civility one ended. In addition to that, I would say a couple things happened. One of them, I think, was just breakfast one day. We had the outgoing city manager and incoming city manager from Plymouth sit down and speak. 48 years at the city. He started like at the bottom.
Yeah,
I mean,
Parks
it
and
was
Rec.
like Parks and Rec. I mean, he was just
Seasonal employee.
seasonal employee. He didn't. 20-some years later, they wanted him to be city manager. They had turmoil, and he said, "No, not doing it." And he meant it. He thought. And I don't know how many days later, the mayor came to him and said, tomorrow night we're going to be able to announce our new city manager. And he said, that is great. He goes, who is it? He said, it's you. And he said, you have no choice. And so I had to ask him what his success was. What is it that he managed well, obviously, in the midst of a lot of turmoil? And he just answered it like that. First thing, he said, you know, I'm a Disney believer, and their philosophy is customer service, customer service, customer service, and more customer service. And then, I know Frank had asked about training. He said, every department has a budget for training. It was invest in the people. And then the incoming one made the comment, basically, like, you don't buy into this, you can find your happiness somewhere else. And it was like the amount of years of service was sort of unreal for today. So that was pretty impressive. And then the other one, Frank and I kept telling him, we're going to the last one of the day. I said, no, this isn't the one we're going to go to. You're going the wrong place. And he goes, I don't care, we're here. It was on housing, and I didn't do housing.
2 minutes and she's like, all right, let's get out of here. I'm like, no, wait.
It was interesting. It wasn't just about housing. Yes, they told us about the state, you know, and they're kind of some of the having designs. It was, again, in many ways, still about customer service. The philosophy, really and truly, it's like we could all listen to it. It was amazing. And they turn things over 24 hours. I mean, they are truly committed.
City of Jackson. The city of Jackson
Kalamazoo did it, and then also Jackson. You guys, I wish everyone could hear it. I can't explain it. We're already here too late. It was an amazing presentation, and again, it really all based on serving and their customer and many developers. I mean, he went out, what can we do to help you do better?
Yeah.
Some of it was budgetary. I mean, I'm personally not big into buying much property as government. I've always been kind of about it. He kind of flipped my attitude, I can tell you that. I mean, they bought a lot, like say $2,000, sell it for $300. They give free sewer and water.
Hookups.
It was, and they've done 80 some houses.
87 housing and a
He's
rolling
figured
12.
they've got all their money back. I mean, and then some. It's just,
And tax
it's an amazing
collection.
story in Jackson. I had no idea. You probably did.
I would like to either bring them out so you guys can hear it. I mean,
It was.
their
it was quite a
24-hour
lesson.
building permit process to build a new house. Unbelievable. They own 660 lots. Most of them they buy through tax foreclosures, and they're buying everything they can, even commercial buildings, and they are planning to build housing. I mean, they are aggressively going after housing, and they have 87 brand new built. They have gotten to the point where they're building 1,200 square foot homes, 1.5 bath, for $178,000.
$148 a square foot.
$142
It's
a
usually
square
about
foot.
250.
Yeah.
And these, we were showing us the homes.
Yeah,
It was
it was
unbelievable.
unbelievable. A 24-hour process, and the guy that was in the community development department said, you have to be on board with the mission. If not, you're going to find somewhere else to work.
It was-
It's all about customer service, and we need housing, and how can we drop everything, fix everything, get to the point where customer A comes in, applies for a permit, 24 hours later, boom. If the homeowner or the proposed homeowner is using one of their preferred contractors on their list, even for the HV, electrical, plumbing, the whole 9 yards, it's still approved. And they have basic concept spec homes for historical districts, single-family dwellings. I mean, they have, if you select one of their pre-approved homes, you're good to go. And they are really doing some amazing things in Jackson, which we walked away saying, wow, how we can have 87 homes here in
I didn't
Sturgis.
say that many. I'm just, it's their process.
It's
It's
their
their
process.
process.
I mean,
It's just-
they're a town of, what is it, 30,000, he said? 30,000, Jackson? Somewhere around there, but it'd be nice to bring them out so you guys can actually hear it. I mean, I'm gonna be talking to him. I asked Andrew if he was okay with that before I brought that up, and he said, sure. For a future work session or a future, something just to discuss and see what they're doing that maybe we could do. Kalamazoo is doing something similar. They're not as aggressive as Jackson, though. But the other thing
That was
too.
the shocker.
Yeah, that was really shocking. The other thing too, I remember my first budget meeting, and I thought Holly was gonna kill me with the look she was giving me, asking her questions about the budget, because it just does not, I was just confused, but I attended a budget workshop, and I'm like, man, if they would've had this my first meeting that I came to, I totally would have understood what Holly was trying to tell me in my first budget meeting, but, which brings me to say that maybe down the road, more of us would go and attend.
It was worth it.
It was so worth it. It gives you a one-on-one opportunity with Andrew, aside from doing the workshops. It allows you to have a one-on-one just to go have lunch or have dinner, instead of just always talking to Andrew about business. I think you kind of need that every once
He
in a
beat
while.
me at duck and bowling. I've never heard of it before. He beat me. But I went about 10 pins. So, it wasn't a massacre.
And then on the way up, Kathy rode with Andrew, so I asked Andrew, hey, how did it go? He didn't answer, so I kind of knew because I've written with Kathy before, so just joking, he never said that.
I offered him earplugs.
He never said that, so.
I offered him earplugs. Did I not? Did I not?
You did.
In advance.
It's not the longest trip I've ever taken with you. So.
But I guess I'll wrap up, folks. There's a lot of things happening in our country that I'm not too proud of. I know I was asked to make a public comment about the recent events in Minnesota, the school shooting, the assassination in Utah, the subway incident. And when you guys appointed me mayor, you didn't appoint a guy who wanted some type of political spotlight, because that's not me. I come from humble beginnings. Most of you know my story, and I tell everyone, I'm no different, no better than anyone else. I put my pants on one leg at a time, like I hope most of you do too. But it doesn't cost anything, going back to what Aaron Miller was saying about being kind. I think we got to get back to the simple principle that, and you guys see it here with all of us, and I'm sure the media does too, that it's okay to disagree. It's okay not to be on the same page. It's okay that we have different opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. I can guarantee you, as much bickering as I do with a couple commissioners, that if I call them and say, I need your help, they will be there to help. No matter how much bickering we do, no matter how much we disagree on agenda items that are presented here, they will come to me and I will come to them. Because it doesn't cost anything to be kind. It doesn't cost anything just to listen to someone. And you never know what that other person is going through. I try every day, and I'm not perfect. I try every day to do the best I can with what I got. And I hope that you do too. And I hope if you have someone that has wronged you or you've wronged them, that you can just go up and say, hey, I'm sorry, let's move on. Because having hate, having people do what they're doing, is just totally not acceptable. We just got to get back to the basics, folks. And with that, I wish all of you a great work week. Thank you for all that you do.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.